Murdoch's. We're a single vehicle currently travelling east. Our first casualty has occurred. That was once attached to that on our spotlights, but no more. So they've completely snapped, both of them, which is not the fucking best. So yeah, we won't be driving much tonight anymore, which is annoying. And we've also just found that the components that hold the overflow bottle on our radiator, the rivet repair we did, has snapped. The rough roads we did yesterday, so we're just trying to get the shroud off with the fan assembly and then re-drill the holes for the pop rivets that we're going to use to do it again.
So here we are, Cameron Corner. We've been driving. Kate's already told you about the spotlight issue. It's very, very, very corrugated, and we were probably going a little bit too fast, but we've had not too many issues. But this thing here, this is a repair I did previously. This is where the water, the radiator overflow attaches, and I just put a few rivets because it broke off. The welds broke off. It's welded, spot welded originally. We could have got a new one from Toyota, but the same thing would have happened. So I put a little gow steel plate in there, and I put just some 1/8 rivets, probably a bit undersized. They have broken. It's only the overflow bottle, so of course if worse come to worse you could just live without the overflow, but we figured if we repair it now we'll probably put a couple of extra rivets in. The other problem I was worried about is if these rivets, when this one separates, this plate will then be loose and it will be kicked around by the fan and who knows. So yeah, we just it's not a massive job to pull the shroud out and the fan off and just do a repair, I guess, and hope that it stays together this time. We've reattached that plate and we're just going to put an extra, we couldn't fit 3 I don't think, so we're just going to put 2 rivets in each hole there. Very good, very good. Like I bought one, Kate? Like I bought one. It should be a bit more. Well, it should be because you've got 2 rivets now sharing the load. Compared to the shit house or what? It's definitely got to be a bit better.
Hey Emma.
She was so excited when we pulled up here and Kate's going, oh my god, there's a cow,
I love cows. Oh well. Anyway, if we come back again, you'll be big.
Yeah, no worries. Have a safe trip, guys.
They're not issued permits.
See you guys. Be good.
We're back in the desert. We just hit the old Strzlecki Track. We just come from Cameron Corner, so we've come up through Burke and Wills, and now yeah, on the old Strzlecki Track. We'd love to do the whole He also named Mount Kosciuszko, which is why it's so impossible to spell. It's a Polish spelling. It was, I think, the Prime Minister or the President of Poland at the time. But Strzlecki, yeah, was just a Polish explorer. But the old Strzlecki Track was actually stock route, and it was a stock route in great Australian fashion named after a criminal called Harry Redford. Harry Redford is better known as Captain Starlight. He's got a couple of tracks named after him, but he stole a heap of cattle, massive head of cattle, and yeah, brought it all up through what we now know as the Strzlecki Track. And they know he did it. They knew he did it. He was tried for it, but they were basically just thought he was really cool. So they were like, "Yeah, good on you, mate. I mean, keep going. Don't worry about it." So he got away with it. But that's the route that this particular track follows. But this is the old part of it. Just passing some cool old oil rigs.
That's awesome.
Camping on the banks of the Cooper Creek, just outside of Innaminka. One of the most famous draws of this place is that it's the final resting place of Burke and Wills. At least it was until a search party came and interred their remains and brought them back to Melbourne to be remembered there. It's interesting to see how they are memorialising Burke and Wills, because although they're hugely celebrated in the Australian canon, they're actually fairly controversial as people, especially Mr. Burke here. It's said even in the signs here, like how unsuitable he was to really be leading a party. He was completely inexperienced and very arrogant, hugely egotistical, just not the right person for the job. And in the end, it was his arrogance and his bullshiness that really, caused his demise. When you camp along here, you see how incredibly rich in resources it is. It's this beautiful river on the banks of the Cooper. So much bird life, so much animal life. You would think that it would be easy to thrive here. Of course, they had been coming through the deserts, and that was what really got them. And it wasn't thirst that destroyed them, it was actually malnutrition. But they didn't need to die the way they did, especially not Burke. In fact, the Aboriginal people of this area, the Dierich people and the Yarrawara people, actually came and helped them. They came and gave them food, came and brought them fish, tried to help them in every way they can, but Burke's mistreatment of them meant that they stopped doing that. We all know as well that Burke and Wills were part of the expedition with Burke as the leader, but not many people seem to know about Gray and King, especially King, who was actually the survivor of the group and by, you know, all accounts the most successful explorer of the lot, which was largely to do with the fact that he wasn't as arrogant as Burke was, and actually was grateful for the help of the Aboriginal people. Burke took the help of the Aboriginal people, but was incredibly rude and dismissive and generally incredibly racist towards them. For that reason, they stopped bringing them the lovely supplies of fresh fish and other foods from around this area that were actually helping to keep them alive. I think he also shot a pistol at them, which again didn't really impress them very much. And despite all of that, when he finally did die here at this tree, with King by his side, Wills and Gray had already died by that point. When King went to go and find the Aboriginal people, they actually cried for Burke. They came and covered his body and mourned his death, despite the fact that he'd been pretty awful to them. And King then went on to live with the Aboriginal people for a further 2 months, which during that time they were, you know, incredibly kind to him, again, with no reason to do so really, other than the goodness of their hearts, until the search party came and brought him back. But it was a very ill-fated mission. When you read about it, when you read about what actually happened, just the idiosyncrasies of the timing is so frustrating. The fact that Braha, another person on the expedition, had been waiting for them for months on end, and when they finally came back, they found that he had left only that morning. But there were also issues in the way Burke and Wills acted, which was a lot to do with the fact that they were incredibly malnourished and weak and fatigued from their travelling and had barely eaten for ages. But they failed to blaze the tree, and that dig tree is quite important in all this, because it sort of sealed their fate.
But he bothered on the return to check that they had actually been there.
Which, yeah, they had. There was actually, the whole point of the blaze tree was actually there was something buried underneath. So there was a cache buried underneath, I assume, in some kind of weatherproof sort of box. And they left a note for Braha. They left a note telling him that they had been there and that they were just going to be, I think, you know, not even 50 k's down this river, in this beautiful, beautiful, rich, abundant river. But the point of the blaze tree is that you have to blaze it. So when Braha then came back a little bit later, he found the tree. He went to go and check if they were still there, but because it hadn't been blazed, he didn't check the cache. They didn't check the cache, and if they had, they would have found their note. And that happened several times. Burke was very clear that his whole reason for doing this was basically for fame and fortune. And he said, you know, I'll go to the middle or die trying. Interesting as well, I think we can still take a lesson from some of their mistakes, overloading their camels, overloading their means of transport, not giving enough consideration to the fact that those things are vital for your survival here.
I don't know, it's just a good story.
It is, it's a great story, and the twists and turns of all the things that went wrong, the way that it all happened, the way that it went down, the timing factor, yeah, it's so tragic, really. It's good to see this place and try to relive history for a minute. When you're going to sleep here, remember that this is where they came forward, this is where they trudged through, both on the way up and the way down on that ill-fated mission.